Hello, everybody, and welcome to the U.S. Geological Survey's virtual public lecture series. My name is William Seelig, and I will be your host and moderator tonight. Before we get started, I have a few announcements to make. For next month's lecture, we're going to have Laura Thompson and Abigail Lynch, who will be discussing climate impacts on species. Their talk is titled Zombie Salmon and Ghost Moose, the Spooky Implications of Climate Change. And that talk will naturally be on Thursday, October 28th at 7 p.m. for a very timely Halloween themed talk. So make sure to put that in your calendars. And now for anyone new to our lectures, just a few tips on how to use some of the features of our platform. To turn on closed captioning on your desktop, you can do so by clicking on the gear-shaped icon, which is located on the upper right-hand corner of your screens. Toward the end of the lecture, we're going to open it up to the question and answer session. If you have a question for tonight's speaker, you can submit them through the Q&A chat window. To find the Q&A chat window, I'll look for the question mark icon on the upper right-hand corner of your screen, and that will bring up the Q&A panel where you can type in your question. And if you're on a mobile device or an iPad, you can click on the question mark icon, which is also located on the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and submit your question in the Ask a Question field box. Do understand we may not have time to answer all questions tonight. We appreciate your understanding in advance. And now time for introductions. So tonight we have Daniel Pearson. Daniel will be discussing the National Water Information System and the USGS National Water Dashboard. So a little background on Daniel. So Daniel Pearson has been with the USGS since 2002. In his current role with the National Water Information System Modernization Program Manager, he's leading a team that will provide the necessary improvements to that information system, which we call NWIS. NWIS is the world's largest authoritative enterprise water information system and is foundational to advancing USGS water mission area priorities and meeting the needs of USGS water mission area stakeholders and the 3 million public users of water information direct from the USGS. Daniel earned his Bachelor's of Science from Texas State University in San Marcos in GIS Science and Cartographic Design. So without further ado, Daniel, I will hand you the floor.
Okay, should have my screen now. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Will and Amelia, for hosting. I want to thank some folks just off the top and just say thank you to the Office of Communication and Publications for hosting this event and for allowing us to get this message out. I also want to thank the employees of the Water Mission Area and our stakeholders for NWIS as a whole. The National Water Information System is a data management and a data delivery system, and the program that I am leading stands on the shoulders of some pretty big giants within the Water Mission Area that have gotten us to this point. But this talk is going to be specifically about how we're modernizing both our data management systems and our delivery systems over the next 5 years. And we're excited to tell this story and excited to answer questions about it. So the just kind of overview of the talk, I'm going to give some context to where this program actually emanates from. We're going to talk about the USGS, the Water Mission Area. We're going to talk about some of the other programs within the Water Mission Area umbrella, and then we'll talk about what NWIS is, and then how we're modernizing it and what our future goals look like. And we'll have some time for Q&A. So to give context, I think it's very important to just kind of understand you all are joining this lecture, understanding, I would assume, a little bit about the USGS, but just to explain how this program is embedded within the USGS umbrella and the Water Mission Area umbrella. And to remind folks about the mission of the entire USGS is to say that our lineage goes back quite some time now to 1879, and that we are the sole science agency within the Department of Interior. And our mission has evolved over the decades, really matching our talent and our knowledge to the progress of science and technology. So we've had this evolution since 1879, but the goals here of the mission are to monitor, analyze, and predict the evolving dynamics of our human and natural Earth systems, and then deliver actionable intelligence. This is really important because NWIS at its root is core to those mission statements. The USGS is organized into these five mission areas: hazards, ecosystems, core science systems, energy, minerals, and water resources. Core science systems in charge of the civilian mapping for the nation. Ecosystems providing that science and understanding of biological resources of the United States. Energies and minerals conducting the research and assessments of the quantity and quality of those resources. And then hazards, most folks know volcanoes, earthquakes, but an understanding of the natural hazards that threaten the citizens of the United States. And then lastly, we have the water resources, and I'll talk about the mission area, but to give context to the water resources mission area, there's about 9,000 employees roughly nationwide. About 3,000 of those sit in the water mission area, and we have not 100, but we have over 1,000 hydrotechs that actually do the hard work of collecting data that gets into NWIS for both our partners and other federal agencies. The USGS Water Resources Mission Area also has 28 science centers that are collecting data and contributing data to NWIS, covering all 50 states of the nation. So the important part, I guess, drilling down into the Water Resources Mission Area is that our statement here states that we will provide, and I would say deliver, hydrologic information and understanding needed by others to achieve the best use of our nation's water resources. And I mentioned previously that we do that with partners, but those 28 water science centers work with hundreds and hundreds of state, federal, and local entities to collect the appropriate and timely water data to make these decisions. So we're talking about a grassroots and really a shared effort to collect water resources data for the nation. Within the water mission area, we are organized via 14 science programs. Their charge is to fund research, do monitoring, develop these tools, provide decision support and technical assistance to manage those resources. And we do that through a planning and programming effort that is funded via Congress. All of these programs that are doing the hard work of the Water Resources Mission Area are really aimed at two aspects. One is our Water Mission Area Science Strategy that lays out the next several years of goals for the Water Mission Area, and then responding to the 2018 National Academy of Sciences report that stated the future priorities of the nation for water. So in order to respond to those, our science strategy lays out these long-term goals to position the agency to meet these current and future needs. And at the heart of those are the observe, the ability to basically collect the data we need, make predictions based on those data collections, do assessments at the national and regional level, and then deliver that to the public. Now, 10 of the 14 programs are very topically specific that collect data and do analysis based on water quality processes, droughts, eco flows, hazards within water, socioeconomic drivers associated with water, water use and water budget, as well as the National Hydrologic Monitoring Program. These 10 programs really are new in nature, but delivering the goals that are laid out in the Science Strategy and National Academy of Sciences report. To meet the four pieces at the center here, we have 4 additional programs, and this is where NWIS Modernization fits in. So to meet the observe strategic goal, we have the Next Generation Water Observing System. This is really a program pointed at high density networks, new sensors, new sensor technology that allows us to make real-time decisions and more rapid decisions about water resources. We also have a modeling program, the Integrated Water Prediction Program, that is taking those data sets and building modeling tools that allow us to make predictions on quantity, quality of water, and understanding of natural systems that exist within the U.S. In addition, we also have this Integrated Watershed Assessments Program, which is the big picture assessment. So looking at regional and national assessments. Really, the tail end of all of our science and data collection is to make some assessments of those resources at the end. And then the last piece is where NWIS fits in, or NWIS modernization fits in. We're not only maintaining and curating existing data systems for public data dissemination. Now modernization brings into the aspect of taking our existing systems, building off of them, and building for the future. So let's talk about what is NWIS? What is NWIS currently? And then we're going to talk about how we're modernizing it and how the tools that we're developing. So NWIS is a system that honestly has its roots in the very beginnings of the water mission area within the USGS. In 1888, the USGS initiated the National Stream Gauging Program on the Rio Grande near Embudo, New Mexico, under the direction of our second director, John Wesley Powell. In 1894, Congress appropriated dollars to undertake the reliable and automated water stage recorders installed at stream gauges to start to collect these data streams. In the 60s, we saw Luna Leopold's bold vision that really looked at the investment in research and science related to hydrology in our agency. And then in 1972, the USGS began experimenting with satellite telemetry in its data collection, as well as delivering that information to the World Wide Web, the internet, in the 80s. So from 1888 to 1980, we moved from our first stream gauge to delivering data on the web. NWIS Web, which is the web interface for this data system, has existed obviously for a long time. We started delivering our real-time data to the web in a national sense in 1994. We were actually delivering data at the state level before this, but the National Water Information System delivering data began in 1994. And really, this was the first attempt to nationalize that data system and get it out to the public via one singular website. Today, USGS is the largest provider of this data in the world, and the water mission area remains absolutely committed to continuing the success of NWIS and pushing it forward for the benefit of our partners and the public. NWIS is described as an ecosystem of both data collections and software systems. So this slide represents the two parts of NWIS. NWIS is basically the authoritative data holdings that include the majority of our observed and computed water data, but it's also the software and computing systems that curate those data holdings and allow the public release of our quality assured data at the end. And there are two thematic data areas that we operate in. One is our discrete data, right? So these are measurements that are collected in the field. You see representation of our hydrotechs in the field collecting data, whether it's sediment, groundwater data, field level measurements, or even water chemistry information. These one-time measurements are part of potentially recurring studies or something that requires laboratory analysis. And I mentioned some of those data themes, but groundwater level measurements, water quality and sediment samples, as well as ecology data. Then we have our automated data sets. These are our time series data. So these are continuous data that are collected via sensors and automated recorders. You see a couple examples of a meteorological station, stream gauges that are set up. USGS staff manage and maintain these systems. We have about 13,500 real-time systems on the landscape currently. Those are transmitted via satellite or cellular networks and can cover a lot of different arenas of data types, but stream and river levels, very common. Stream flow are discharge data, reservoir and lake levels, as well as water quality and rainfall. So those two data themes really are part of a sensor network that is pushing data into our data systems every minute. And I have an animation here that shows the data latency associated with our NWIS database. So in some manner, we see NWIS as a single site collecting data, but in actuality, it's kind of a living, breathing organism that's collecting data and providing that to users every minute. And I'm just going to forward through this, but you'll see that the colors shown in green are showing new transmissions from these screenshots that are fresh into our database. And you'll see when we hit the top of an hour, in general terms, you'll see the number of green dots increase as data is flowing into our National Water Information System. So when I think about NWIS, I think about the hard work of our hydrotechs collecting the data in partnership, but I also think about a data management and software system that is providing the latest information to the public that we can provide. So the NWIS are vast, needless to say. There is a number of thematic areas that I'll describe here about our time series data. We have about 3 million time series data sets and about 4 million discharge measurements available. Discrete water quality, we have about 7 million samples with 135 million results. We have about 10 million groundwater levels and about 500,000 groundwater discharge measurements. We have about 2 million unique locations in this database and more than 200,000 water use site records. In addition to that, we provide data out to the public through Water Data for the Nation. And so I won't go through those, but you see the vast amount of data that is available to the public via our web delivery products. So how are we modernizing? So, you know, the charge and the program goal of NWIS modernization is one of those 14 programs within the water mission area is to really provide the necessary improvements. So that's a key statement here to make sure that our enterprise water information system is available. And then forward-looking aspects include being able to advance or basically advance the water missionary priorities and meeting the needs of our stakeholders in the future. So the important part here is not just making the improvements to the software, it's actually answering the future needs of the water resource information delivery. When we talk about NWIS modernization, we have to kind of talk about the business a little bit about software management. So a lot of my background is in managing software solutions within the USGS to deliver data to the public. And over time, software systems and software solutions accrue what we call technical debt, which means the code becomes a little less flexible and the ability to maintain that code diminishes over time. Whether this is public sector or private sector, these are things that software systems have to consider to make sure that they're viable for future use. So knowing that NWIS Web was originally published in 1994, our web delivery footprint is largely unchanged, even though we have had many version releases to keep it current. The increasing technical debt on those solutions, as well as the cost of change increasing, has become what the USGS sees as a top priority to replace. If we juxtapose that against the evolving technology in both code, languages, libraries, databases, and infrastructure over that time, we'll understand that there's value in modernizing, and that is helping our systems grow in the future. So the growth potential of our science and our technology as that evolves is going to include things like modern sensors that we want to use and modern telemetry and transmission that we want to use for future use. This program has three defined goals. One is to retire the code that we have managed and maintained for a long time. The second priority outcome or priority goal of this program is to build those modern data pipelines. So think forward-looking with regards to sensor data management and data delivery. And then take this program and the investments made and transition those into what we call sustainment engineering. So management of our code long-term, being able to respond to the technology changes. Obviously, I mentioned at the top the folks that are contributing to this, but I have a slide specifically pointed at mentioning the good efforts of our internal team and our contractor teams that are helping make this happen. We have about 150 staff and contractors that work on this effort. I'm lucky to have a very strong program management team that helps support this effort. And in addition to that, we have strong project management ranks within the water mission area, covering about 20 distinct projects ongoing currently. The USGS is the USGS NWIS modernization team includes subject matter experts. So folks that are familiar with our data workflows, our data collection methods, provide valuable information that inform this program, and then our software engineers that are helping write that code. I want to tip my hat to our hydrotechs who are collecting the data in the field for NWIS, and I also want to tip my hat to our operations staff that manage the existing software solutions that we have. They do an incredible work keeping these data available in a near 24/7 manner so that our public and our cooperators can access this data as needed. And here's just a screenshot of what we see as folks in the field. But these folks are USGS employees managing sites, collecting data, and helping develop the answers that really the nation and our partners are looking at with regards to water resources. To execute the program, we have actually divided this program into 10 subprograms. So this is where there are 10 bins, essentially where work happens. We have our telemetry system where we're looking at our satellite sensors, time series data collection, discrete data collection, we call that samples. Our field software that our staff are using in the field to collect data. We have a sub-program pointed at groundwater and hydrogeology information, water use, imagery and remote sensing, web delivery, which we'll talk about here in a bit, our monitoring location registry, as well as our reference list management. And to give you a window, some very brief window into our modernization efforts within these sub-programs, within telemetry, we're developing a new software system to handle both satellite and cellular transmissions. With regards to time series and our discrete data collection, we're working on new and efficient workflows through our software solutions. We are unifying our data collection platforms into a single stream for our field data collection. We're going to publish more groundwater information nationally, as well as develop our water use system to respond to Congress's needs for information. For the first time, we're taking, and we're going to talk about it here in a second, but we're taking on storing images and videos from our gauges for archival use, but for future water use. We're updating our web delivery systems, and then we are managing our site information and our reference list information in new and modern ways. All of that comes together to build this picture, and I'm going to show this here in a little bit, but this is called the National Water Dashboard. So as modernization happens in these arenas, it allows us to bring that data together in new and exciting ways like the National Water Dashboard that allows us to answer these national questions about water resources. I'll step away from that for now. It's kind of a teaser to get back to down the road, but the behind the scenes of this really emanates from NWIS and NWIS modernization. So we talk about NWIS modernization now. We talk about two different aspects. We're going to talk about data management, and then what we're going to talk about is data delivery. So we're going to talk about now how we manage our data and the modernization efforts that are being undertaken that ingest data into a data system, allow us to QC that data and do our business of managing that information. What we do within NWIS, we talk about it's like sensor to web page is essentially is the workflow, and it follows the USGS data lifecycle that the USGS published back in 2013. There are multiple steps to this, but essentially there is a plan to collect data that is really bound by water mission area policy and procedures that are published. We acquire that data in the field. We process that data through rigorous software that the water mission area uses. We analyze that, we preserve it in our data systems, and we publish that out to the web. We follow this life cycle to make sure that quality data is hitting our end products on the web. And then following that, we have the charge to provide metadata, manage the quality of that data, and back up and secure that data. So at the end of the day, our data management system is really more than stream gauges, right? We have field data collection and data processing. We have updates to our telemetry systems. We're having new ways to govern and curate the descriptive lists that NWIS uses. We are managing now an authoritative list of NWIS sites through our monitoring location registry, and we're updating QA and QC policies and procedures. All the while testing new sensors and developing new data management protocols. So I'm gonna focus on a few efforts within the data management arena that I think are exciting. In the spirit of a better software management and better data management, we currently have about 15 pieces of individual software that collect data from the field and put that into the National Water Information System. And as we looked forward within this program about areas that we could really take advantage of and take opportunity with, it was an effort to unify our field software into a single solution. So we are moving out on a project beginning next fiscal year that'll be a multi-year effort to consolidate all of that data collection into a single platform. This is going to enable us to manage our code better, to make long-term enhancements, and really ease the burden on the operations of that software. So at the end of the day, we hope to improve our data entry and our validation procedures. And just shown here is kind of a graphic of those 6 elements that we figure we feel are important for success. But to improve the upload, to improve our policies and procedure verification, validate our data, and then basically use that to information to monitor our locations better in the field. So there's a lot of integration and a lot of opportunity when we're talking about 15 software solutions moving into a single solution. We're making significant upgrades to the telemetry system. So the majority of our gauge transmissions happen using the GOES satellite telemetry. But as new sensors come on board and there's a request for higher frequency transmissions, we're expanding that telemetry management system for our internal operations into newer technologies like other satellite networks and cellular based systems. We're also improving the distribution of our data via these satellite telemetry systems to our federal partners. And upgrading that system will allow for better decision making, specifically related to natural hazards and emergencies. One last exciting part of data management that I want to mention is the move out on the imagery subprogram. So we are currently in a design phase to build out a national cyber infrastructure for USGS to support data streams coming in from cameras installed at gauges. This system will actually leverage both cloud and on-premise. And the future of this is to have not only transmissions that find their way to the web, images and videos that find their way to the web, but also to provide a national archive of images available on streams, lakes, and reservoirs across the U.S. This is a very exciting avenue for us, and we're excited to see it grow. The last piece I'll mention is just our modern data feeds. There's a number of efforts that are ongoing on the internal side for data management that allow for more frequent transmissions or more coherent transmissions between systems. And I'm just going to name a few here. I mentioned imagery, and I mentioned the big picture that we have with the dashboard. But there is an internal component called Data Hub that is essentially a translator between our systems. So now we have this neural network, this internal network that provides connections between all of the aspects of our subprogram. And those pipelines are are a major piece of how we're modernizing those data feeds. The Field Data Gateway is another effort that is internal facing, but is going to make more succinct and more direct communications between field software systems and NWIS. And then the last two that are on here that I did not mention are the addition of geospatial services as a set of modern feeds, as well as a modern web service catalog. And I'll talk about some of those here in a minute. So let's pivot to how you get the data. We're going to talk a little bit about web delivery from NWIS and the efforts that are being undertaken to modernize products that you probably know and have used previously. There are 5 tiers to web delivery, or what we call NWIS brand delivery from NWIS. Alerts, web services, monitoring locations, robust search, and a national view. And those are represented by, shown in blue here, titles of products that you may have heard of, may have used in the past, or will hopefully use here in the future. But we'll start with Water Alert. That provides SMS and email messages based on current conditions at stream gauges. We have Water Services from USGS that provides a set of REST services currently, allowing access programmatically to the holdings within NWIS. We have monitoring locations. These are single site web pages, formerly known as NWIS Web, as part of this effort here. We'll talk about search in a minute, and then I'm going to skip to the last one here and just talk about the National Water Dashboard. So that is a national view, real-time weather and water conditions giving context. So everything we're doing here is kind of in the spirit of the Internet of Water. Some of you may be familiar with the Internet of Water efforts. There are some foundational statements and really some charges that they have laid out that resonate into the National Academy of Sciences report in terms of how we deliver our water information. But this quote here really struck with me. There's some key words here. When it comes to water, critical decisions that are made every day, regardless of data availability. But what if we could harness more data and make better informed decisions? This is the call and the end goal of the Internet of Water. So our delivery products, at the end of the day, what we want to do is provide those better context to what data we have available for more informed decision making. And to do that, we have to know about our audience and who our audience is for our web delivery products. The public is a large, obviously a large footprint with our web delivery products, but we have partner agencies, state agencies, federal agencies, local agencies, river authorities that are also part of our audience. We have municipalities and regional managers. We also have first responders that come to get data from the USGS. And then, we kind of have to know their data needs. So over time, we've learned that a lot of folks are interested in what's happening now or what changing conditions we have in terms of water, what the historical context is. They're doing some strategic planning for water resources. Maybe there's some private use for business operations. There's a vast multitude of basically needs that will come together when it comes to web delivery. So with our audience and their needs, and drawing upon that spirit of Internet of Water for better decision making, the USGS data science team has been putting out for several years now great displays of water information that really take the strength of NWIS and a lot of those use cases and bring them together for better decision making here. This is a recent graphic that was produced that looks at stream gauge levels and water levels in relation to Hurricane Ida that just came online. So you can see the path of the storm and the impact to our water resources as well as stream flows in relation to life and property safety. These are the products that we want to see come from a robust data system. We're making some changes. I mentioned NWIS Web and the initial operation date in 1994. This is, we've provided this rudimentary data delivery capability for single site locations for a long time. It has some graphing and analytical capabilities, but unfortunately it was not built for mobile. So as part of NWIS modernization, We have had the next generation monitoring location pages available in beta since 2018. This new set of web pages is user-centered designed, as well as implemented via agile software development approaches. It's a mobile-first product, and we're utilizing the US Web delivery standards. There's a link here where you can find out more information about how we're modernizing those single-site page views, and we'll answer a large number of questions about that effort. We're excited about this, and we see it as an opportunity to continue to build off these for single-site stream gauges. Water Alert. So Water Alert is the text and email notification system. It is currently undergoing modernization with a projected rollout of next fiscal year, so after October 1 of next year. We heard from our users. We surveyed about 3,500 users, and they told us how important this product was, and we really thank folks for their contributions to our development. What we got out of that is that the text message solution is absolutely critical, and this product, which provides real-time information about gauges of interest, is important for the protection of life and property. So you will see this product modernized, and you will continue to be able to subscribe to this solution in the future. So we're going to have an improved interface, and we're modernizing the way we send our text messages out. Water services. Water services is a set of REST services. Programmatic services allow software developers and other entities to access our data through code. This set of services has been available for quite some time now, but we're actually going to modernize water services. And the goal here is to not only modernize the set of services, but expand the set of services into a modern suite. We're going to add geospatial services to this, and this footprint will be a central repo for published APIs, as well as code libraries that the Water Missionary has. So what you see now is a set of REST services. What you'll see in the future is a set of more comprehensive services that include geospatial and code. One of the tiers that I skipped over in description of NWIS brand delivery is robust search for the nation. And robust search for the nation includes access to the whole archive of NWIS data. So I've got some screenshots here of a product called just labeled search and filter, but essentially will allow you to query and access the repository of water information more readily in kind of an Amazon search style interface. So this is a product that is in the design phase currently, and expect to hear more about this in the future. One last graphic, and I just want to say, you know, this is, again, credit to the USGS data science team. NWIS is really more than just sensor data. So water quality, water use, sediment ecology data. What we want to do is improve the data discovery, data access, and data usability, and we want to enable 21st century science. So this is another one of the visualizations that tells the narrative about water use at a national scale in the last census that was done in 2015. So you can look at the division and the use of water across the nation, a very compelling and critical story. So that brings me to the final product within data delivery, and that is the National Water Dashboard. It is really, to me, at this point, it is one of those next generation tools that allows us to look at current conditions from NWIS and look at it in context with weather information to help make better decisions. And I'm going to end my show. I'm going to try and switch to this display. And if Amelia, if you can, make sure we're good there. 1 second. I'm going to share that whole screen. That's probably not the way we want to do it, but I'm going to go with it for now. How are we doing, Amelia? We're okay? Thank you. This is, okay, so I'm going to do a quick demo. I won't take too much time, but I want to mention a few things. The National Water Dashboard provides access to about 7 different category areas of sensor data available from the USGS. And you'll see here over on the right-hand side, I've got stream flow turned on, and I've got the current status of stream flow. If I look at the legend here, we can see that anything in blue or black is above normal for today. Anything in green is a normal stream flow condition for today, and anything in red and orange is below normal. This gives me a good view of what's happening at the national scale, fed every minute by new information from NWIS through our data management systems and our data delivery systems. A couple things to point out here. The blue and black on the East Coast is still water flowing out from Hurricane Ida. The water that was dumped during that last event has raised an elevated stream flow conditions on the East Coast. So we're watching a number of those in flood stage and a number of those at all-time highs for today. If you see the Midwest of the country, there's a lot of green there, normal conditions for this time of year. And then as we move out west, we can look at some drought conditions. Folks know about fires out west, but to provide some context, I'm going to turn on the drought monitor, and you can see some pretty good correlation between those low flow values and what is shown as higher or elevated drought conditions for the nation. This tool is very powerful. It can help make some decisions. There's a large number of data sets and data themes that are available. I'll point out just one last feature that I think is really important. You can do some name search. You can change an area of interest to a specific state or specific region. And then you can also use this get link function so you can share this information. If we click on a single site, if I can hone in on one here, we get more information about this site, including any parameter data streams that are available. And then you can access more information through the next generation site pages. Explore this. We're excited to have it out. Expect new changes and updates to this product, as it is one of the keystone delivery products from the Water Resources Mission Area from USGS for the next several years. I'm going to share my slides and bring this to a close. Make sure get it back on the presenter. And there we go. Let's see here, next slide. Oh. Okay, I think I will share some of these links. I just wanted to make sure they were embedded in here. If you want to grab a screenshot of these are the products for delivery that I had mentioned previously. Let's talk about next steps. Let's talk about where we go from here and what the benefits are. So I have on here some estimated timelines based on some of the products tools that we've already discussed. In 2021, we had release of the National Water Dashboard, and on the internal side, we had our management system, the monitoring location registry, put into operations. This next fiscal year, we're going to have our discrete data management and telemetry systems updated, as well as to the public a modernized water alert. In 2023, we intend to have the imagery infrastructure in place and really release our modern web services, as well as authoritative geospatial services from the USGS Water Resources Mission Area. 2024 will hold the release of our unified field app and full decommissioning of our historical legacy software systems. This will be a landmark time for the USGS to move away from the existing technology into full operations for our modernized systems. And then in 2025, we're going to transition to sustainment engineering and management of those new systems. We hope that the benefit is very vast and is very impactful for both water managers and the public. We intend to deliver more data to support prediction of water hazards and water availability in near real time. We want to provide those tools that support decisions across the nation, thinking about things like water supply, floods, droughts, water quality conditions, as well as hazards and extreme events. We believe that the National Water Information System modernization will support that. And then we want to continue to lean our portfolio of web products so the public comes into a limited set of web tools to access water information, as well as expand the very important National Water Dashboard for future use. We will continue to reach out to both internal and external stakeholders through a variety of opportunities. And I have a picture of the little feedback button. You're going to see a feedback button on a lot of these modern products, whether it's our new site pages or it's the National Water Dashboard. And we want to hear from you. We want to hear what your needs are and how we can meet those needs using the resources that we have currently. I mentioned the blog that we have that explains the utility of our new water stream gauge site pages. I also have a link here to the upcoming live event that we will be hosting October 13th that's going to talk about more specific changes to the data delivery and get into the weeds a little bit more about how we're modernizing water data for the nation products. And with that, I've got some contact information. I'd love to take some questions. That is my final slide. And again, I thank you for your time and your patience.
Excellent. Thanks again, Dan. And yeah, lucky for you, we do have several questions that have come through from our audience members. Just a reminder for anyone else, if you'd like to ask a question, remember you can click on the little Q&A chat window, look for the question mark icon. That's on the upper right-hand corner of your screen, and then you can type in your question there. So Dan, our first question from the audience is, someone's asking, how does the USGS decide which rivers and streams to monitor as part of the program?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's not I won't have a very direct answer, but what I will say is at the state level, right, I mentioned a number of state partners, other federal agencies, local entities, and municipalities that partner on gauges rivers of interest. So whether they're attempting to manage a waterway or water resources, they may work in partnership with our agency, our bureau, to basically identify locations for stream gauges. Beyond that, the USGS has the National Stream Flow Information Program that looks at the federal priority areas where those stream gauges are. I would say if there's interest in additional monitoring, reach out to your local water science center and ask them about your waterway of interest and if there's future monitoring planned.
All right, thank you. Our next question is from Greg. Greg asks, will the National Water Dashboard integrate with NOAA/NWN flood alerts and modeling, National Weather Service alerts, any other kind of alert services?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've had some pretty strong partnership with the National Weather Service, both at the national and local level. And the current integrations include access to data services, web services provided by the National Weather Service. So in general context, the USGS in many cases provides current conditions information, and the National Weather Service provides that forecast information. We work in direct collaboration during events to provide information back and forth. The USGS has a program called the Flood Inundation Mapping Initiative that provides some modeled flood inundation aspects, as well as other regional efforts to include inundation forecasts as well. I will make a statement here that is going to take some time to play out, but I believe that there will be future integrations with those inundation products in the dashboard, and we're eager to have those conversations with National Weather Service when appropriate.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question from one of our viewers is, are open source metadata formats being considered in this entire process?
You know, they are. I would say that's an area of opportunity for the USGS. You know, we've long been part of the FGDC community, but that is definitely ISO and other standards are in play for the USGS. A lot of that is available through Sciencebase, and NWIS has got to make some strides forward for metadata on download. I think that's an area of opportunity for us, but to answer very directly, we are considering those.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what else do we have? Our next question is from Ginny, who's asking, will the new version of NWIS be able to provide well data that currently resides in GWSI? An example is screened intervals of a well and well other IDs. I'm not sure if this makes sense to you.
Yeah, no, we're good. So that's a very specific kind of internal. GWSI is an internal data management system for groundwater data. It is also one of our legacy systems. We currently have a project to migrate a lot of that lithology, screened information about how a well is constructed into a national platform. That project has not started yet, but over the next year or two, expect to hear more.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And another good question from Wendy. Wendy's asking, will the new stream gauge pages have the webcams at some point? Wendy loves watching the Happy Isles webcam in Yosemite, but the beta page does not have it.
Yes, we're standing up that national infrastructure to do just that, and we're happy to hear more about how people are using images from our existing systems. Our existing images are put into our existing stream gauge pages using a variety of sources, and as part of modernization, we're bringing that all under one umbrella to deliver on those next gen pages. So we're excited to hear that. And we're excited to hear more about how those cameras are being used.
Got it. Thank you. And this question you might have already answered with the National Water Dashboard, but someone's asking, there's a public dashboard or some other website that shows past rainfall and snowfall records that does not need to be downloaded as a data set or a file?
Yeah, so the dashboard really doesn't provide it doesn't provide historical context. That product is really pointed at what's happening right now. I do believe those use cases are being considered from our team, and just stay tuned for more development. We have a label on that product that says experimental for now, and very deliberately, because we're learning from the National Water Dashboard has been publicly available for now a year or so. So we continue to learn, and I think we continue to evolve that product to meet greater needs.
Got it. So essentially you're saying with the water dashboard, the effort is being put into real time. So
Yes.
that, if there's any kind of historical dashboard, that would be a separate project essentially?
Or maybe an extension of what we currently have, but I think that's to be determined. And like I said, I think we're still learning from its initial release what those use cases are. So I think just stay tuned for more developments there. But currently, I think the appropriate way to answer it is it's about what's happening now, not necessarily what's happened in the past.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And our next question is a user asking about what data are available, but they seem to have the impression that discrete/sample data are on a different website than the time series or sensor data. Is that correct?
Yeah, some of our water quality data is available via the water quality portal, which is a combined data access tool between USGS and EPA. So if folks aren't able to find the information they're looking for, and I'll send you the link here in a second, Will, on that, but the water quality portal does provide a plethora of discrete water quality data, as well as data from EPA too.
Got it. Thank you. And our next question is from Bill. Bill has a very good question, actually. He's asking if you've heard about the recent announcement of NASA's Earth System Observatory, or ESO. If so, does USGS have any plans to partner with NASA to share and explain that satellite data in regard to water resources?
I don't have the answer there, Will. What I'll say is what we consider an imagery and remote sensing subprogram to NWIS modernization is really pointed at cameras and video cameras installed at stream gauges. But remote sensing of water quality is an aspect of NGWIS, our next generation water observing system. And so the science behind satellite derived water chemistry, water quality, water availability is part of the portfolio of the water mission area, not necessarily specifically to NWIS modernization. But feel free, I don't know if that individual would like to contact me and discuss that more. My contact information is here and can make connections as necessary there.
Got it, thank you. Oh, there we go. If everyone can see Daniel's contact information. Just a reminder too, I did put the links that Daniel put in the slides. I also put in the chat window. So those are hyperlinked there if anyone needs to wants to take a look at those. So everything that was mentioned in the lecture is there as well.
Awesome.
And one last question looks like, let me see what we have. This is kind of more of a general water question. I'm not sure if you want to weigh in, but Ramesh is asking which countries of the world will have water problems in the near future?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the best person equipped to answer that, honestly. So I probably would defer that to others. But again, you know, my contact information is there. If folks want, I can definitely direct that traffic or that question in the right place. Well, I should add in the question that came up about discrete water quality and the water quality portal as an access point for that type of information. It is in our intentions as a program to provide discrete water quality data via the new next generation monitoring pages. So stay tuned for additional capabilities there, but the access point currently, if somebody was looking for information, would be through the water quality portal.
Got it, thank you. And you know, that actually, to expand on that, just for folks who don't have a hydrology background or water background, could you kind of just give a quick explanation of discrete measurements versus like continuous instantaneous data?
Yeah, and it's just to reiterate a few points that were in my slides, but what we call time series data is basically a sensor at a stream site that automatically collects that data in a series of data points, and we provide that as a graph, right, of data and information. To boil it down to the simplest parts, a discrete measurement is potentially somebody going to a stream and grabbing a bucket of water and taking it back, doing an analysis, or doing a one-time measurement down a well, right? What's a water level currently? That's a discrete measurement, not a series of measurements like the time series would be. So think about discrete one-time, time series multiple, collected autonomously or in a record.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah.
And it looks like that's all our questions from our audience again. So Daniel, I want to thank you again for the great talk today, just letting us get a glimpse in the future, what's on the horizon for water data, and for answering the questions from our audience. So again, if anyone didn't get any of the links to the data pages, feel free to send it in the chat, and I can put those hyperlinks in there for you. And again, thank you to everyone out there tonight for joining us for Dan's talk. Just a reminder that Dan's lecture will be available later on. We hope to have it up by next week for on-demand viewing on our website. That website is usgs.gov/PLS. And another reminder, we hope to see everyone back again next month on October 28th, same time, 7 p.m. Pacific, for our lecture on climate impacts on species. And that's our poster up there. Give you a few bullet points, and you can also look at our website and get a glimpse into what that talk's going to be about. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up tonight. And thanks again, everyone, and take care. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.